British motoring show Top Gear, Jeremy Clarkson and the holy duo take the Toyota Hilux and put it across some rigorous tests, and it comes out with flying colors. This, the all-new Toyota Fortuner made in India, is based on the exact same platform of the Hilux. But you know what's the interesting part is, when the Fortuner was launched in India in 2009, it was priced at 18.3 lakh rupees ex-showroom. But this car retails at an on-road price of 46 lakh rupees Delhi, which is the cheapest in India. What's the secret behind the bump in prices to say 2.5 to 3x the time? And more importantly, what makes this car the politician's favorite choice? If you look at the cars like Mahindra Scorpio, Tata Safari or say even the Thar, there's something very common in them. That's the way they look. They look drop dead gorgeous. And the same thing has been carried over in the Toyota Fortuner from the first gen. People went mad over its looks, and one of the reasons why Toyota Fortuner is so popular is it has been the best looking SUV in its segment since the time it was launched. At least if not then, now, because Ford Endeavour doesn't exist anymore and there is no second thought that the Fortuner looks way better than the Gloster. Although the difference in the way the new Fortuner looks compared to the earlier one isn't very significant, but let's hear it out. You get the projector LED headlamps, which are very powerful, and you can see the sample pictures or videos here where they light up the road very beautifully at night. And you have the DRL here, which is extremely sleek, and there's a chrome bit running on top of the headlamps, and the design is so aesthetic. It's so good, it gels so nicely with the car. It's not that, you know, the headlamps or the chrome strip is looking disproportionate. It's like they gel very nice. And further down the car you have this mesh treatment, but what's more important is there are parking sensors here, which means that it will help you if there's a blind spot in the front of the car, which is really good because the car is very huge. And there are fog lamps here, which again have a good intensity as well. And one thing that I kind of found it a bit shocking is the indicator placement is too low on the bumper, and there's a good chance that you might end up bruising them against the pavement or any other object. The prominent logo that I've seen here is one of the biggest I've ever seen. It's so big, I mean, it's more than the size of my hand. I mean, there are two ovals here. One is the heart of the company and one is the heart of the customer, and they both intersect, and Toyota wants to tell that, you know, it's trying to keep both of them closer. And I think somewhere down the lane Toyota has lost a track of it because they aren't listening to the customers anymore. Like say you have these companies like Hyundai or Kia, which are more customer centric, you know, they take upon the customer feedback and act on it. But I have not seen that in Toyota, because Toyota still misses out on a lot of features. They're not doing market service properly, because you see, even after paying 46 lakhs you don't get this sunroof. But again, more about it later during the course of the review. But cutting it short now, they have the grill here. The grill is made up of plastic, just like most of the other grills there. And overall, I think the Fortuner is undoubtedly a very handsome looking SUV, and that's the reason many people are going to buy it. I can still accept the fact that you don't get a sunroof. I can still accept the fact that you don't get a wireless charging pod. And there's so many facts like this that I have to accept because the Fortuner is not rich in features. But if there's something disappointing is that you don't get hydraulic struts after paying 46 lakhs, which is really bad. And the bonnet is extremely heavy and it's super hot right now. We are in Delhi. It's very difficult for me to open it, but yeah, here you go. It's very heavy, trust me, it's very heavy. And Toyota should have really offered a hydraulic strut here, because a lot of people are going to face a problem opening the bonnet. With this facelift, Toyota is trying to keep up with the more feature-rich cabins of rivals like the Alturas and MG Gloster. Both the front seats are now ventilated and electrically adjustable, and the good thing is that it's standard across the range. The 8-inch infotainment system is new and is compatible with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. It's quite responsive, but the interface could have definitely been better and the size a tad bigger, looking at the massive cabin size. You get a premium JBL 10 speaker surround system too, but the sound clarity is above average at best. Looks like
Cars like Hector and Harrier have spoiled us for choices. The AC is a bone chiller and cools the cabin in absolutely no time. The instrument cluster looks classy and is easy to read, but doesn't match the aura of other cars of 2021. However, the biggest letdown has to be the plastic quality of the interiors, which look inferior on a car costing half a crore rupees.
So one of my favorite things in the Fortuner is the front seats comfort. It's very comfortable. I mean, we have driven this car for say more than 10 hours, 12 hours at a stretch, and it's extremely comfortable. Although the front seats are very comfortable in the Fortuner, things aren't the best of the best in the second row because the under thigh support is slightly shorter in the second row of seats. But having said that, the seats are fairly supportive. Just as the cushioning is a bit hard, not sure why is that, and the front seats are scooped out, which means that the legroom is ample. I mean, it's such a big car, it's a very spacious car, there's a lot of legroom, headroom is like infinite. The car is so tall, so of course it's translated into better headroom, and you also get a rear center armrest here. And what's very shocking is there are no cup holders. I mean, cars which are costing 7 to 8 lakh rupees get that. There are no cup holders in the rear center armrest. And of course, you are definitely going to miss the sunroof in the car because there is no sunroof at 46 lakh rupees also. But having said that, there are AC vents here, and the AC cooling from these vents is really good. And apart from that, you do get grab handles here, just in case you want to go off-roading, or if the road is bad or something, you just need to hold the grab handle so that you don't fall off your seat. Luckily, the second row of seats have a one-touch operation for you to go to the third row, and it's quite manageable. It's definitely not a problem as such. So talking about the third row of seats, the legroom is short. There is no under thigh support at all, and the knees are already touching the second row of seats. It's okay for short distance travel, say 100 kilometers or something, but beyond that, anything beyond that is going to be very difficult here. Even for say kids or adults, it's going to be very difficult, but kids can somehow manage, and I think it's more of a proper 5-seater plus sort of space for luggage. But having said that, you do get rear AC vents for the third row of seats, third row passengers, and this car has one of the best air conditioning system, and that's a good thing because a lot of air is going to transform from the AC vents here to make the last row of passengers be cooler.
The overall driving dynamics are the same, which means that it's still not the easiest car to live with as an everyday vehicle. The steering is still heavy, the suspension is slightly on the stiffer side, and there's abundant body roll around the corners. The good thing though is that it still inspires great confidence on you on rough roads. Also, we made our way through traffic in the massive and intimidating SUV in the very narrow streets of Beer Billing, a small town in Himachal. Also, the fact that it has a proper 4x4 capability with a locking differential further adds to the Fortuner's reputation for outstanding toughness and terrain conquering abilities that remain unmatched.
A lot of things to talk about this car, but to begin with, let's go to the NVH levels. As you can see, the NVH levels are fairly controlled in the Fortuner. It's not that it's very audible or something. In fact, I found that the XUV 700, the one that we recently drove, had much more noise entering the cabin, and it's well contained here. It's better than the earlier Fortuner for sure. There's no second thought about it at all. And moving to the other aspects, let's talk about the acceleration and the performance of engine. And that's where the Fortuner excels here at this time within facelift, because the 204 bhp and 500 newton meter of torque does a lot and lots of justice to this car. It's brilliant. The car is outstanding in performance. There is absolutely no second thought about it at all. But what's further interesting is the peak torque of the car, that's 500 newton meter, starts all the way from 1600 rpm itself and goes all the way up to 2800 rpm, which means that the torque is very usable in everyday conditions. And this in turn helps the car crawl through toughest of the obstacles, and the kind of momentum, the kind of grunt that this engine has with the gearbox is something that is unmatchable at all. The low range, as you know by now, is fantastic. The mid range is brilliant, but however the car slightly struggles in the higher range. But having said that, this car is one of the best performing car that you can buy right now and this price bracket, and that's a no-brainer. Talking about the gearbox, You get a 6-speed torque converter gearbox in the Fortuner, automatic, of course. And trust me, the gear shifts are butter smooth. There's barely any instance when you realize that the car is upshifting or downshifting. But apart from that, there are many instances when you won't even realize that the gears are being changed. So the three driving modes to choose from. So this is the eco mode, where the engine is conservative. It's focused on fuel efficiency. It's a very lethargic driving mode, and honestly, I've been using this mode for say 60 to 70% of the time. I don't have no complaint at all. It drives like a normal eco mode, and this is the normal mode as Toyota wants to call it, and this offers a right balance between the sport mode and the eco mode. And what I kind of like in the Fortuner is the sport mode. Just slot into sport mode and look at the way this car really howls. Look at the speedometer needle there. I'm right now in a controlled environment and we are doing good speeds, and this is absolutely phenomenal. Of course, there are people like me who love to have some kind of engagement when shifting gears, and that's fulfilled using the paddle shifters here. uh, so we are right on sport mode, and here we go, and I'm going to downshift. So downshifted now, D3, which is third gear, upshifted fourth gear. So there is manual override, which means that if you don't upshift automatically after a certain RPM, the gear shifts happen automatically, so that there's no damage to the gearbox. And right now I'm in fourth gear, downshifting it, third gear, and here we go, fourth gear. Is what an absolute joy to drive this car. I mean, I'm really not sure when was the last time I loved driving an SUV so much as I'm in love with the new Fortuner. You know, more than the 204 bhp is the 500 Newton meter that is literally communicating with you. That's where the fun lies, and I think Toyota has done a fabulous job there. Just fabulous job there. There is no second thought on it at all. And coming to one of my most important aspect when judging the driving dynamics of a car, it is the steering feedback. And boy, trust me, this car has one of the finest, one of the classiest, one of the best steering feedbacks that you can find this side of half a crore. I mean, look, just look at it. I'm just turning the steering a bit. Just look at the feedback. The car actually communicates with you. It's not light like they say the Hyundai counterparts. I mean, there is a lot of feel in the steering. There's a lot of engagement that's there in the steering. You feel that, yes, the steering is obeying to me. It's weighted, and as you gain speeds, the steering does weigh up too. The XUV 500 had one of the finest hydraulic power steerings, and the XUV 700 gets an EPS, which is like not up to the mark. And thankfully, Toyota has retained its legacy, and they've gone ahead with the hydraulic power steering for the Fortuner, and this is absolutely fantastic. The braking power is obtained by all 4 discs, and it's really good. And just look at this watch. A 1997 Maruti S-Team had the same watch. It's 2021, which is 21 plus 3, that's 24 year of time difference, and you still get the same equipment, which is not good.
Even though the Fortuner is not the most comfortable or refined car to live with, its reputation of being an incredibly reliable, tough, and sturdy vehicle will always make it a highly desirable car in the Indian market. Also, the diesel version now offers enough power to blast away the competition. With Ford bidding goodbye, Toyota now has the monopoly in the segment with a wafer thin market share of MG Gloster. However, we really wish this monopoly doesn't turn out against the favor of consumers, as monopoly in any segment isn't really a nice thing. This makes a brand less innovative, less competitive, and sadly, no control over the price. And with this Toyota's SUV already being really heavy in the pocket, our fingers are literally crossed.
The conclusion for this review is very simple. Buy the Fortuner if and only if you value drivability and reliability over features and convenience. Of course, we have competitions who are offering lot better features, lot better gizmos, and at probably say 2/3 the price. But if there is an area where the Toyota Fortuner excels, it's the drivability. That 500 Newton meter of torque and 204 bhp of power is something that's going to leave you smiling when you take the Fortuner on the road, on the tarmac, on your favorite road trip, or to your favorite off-road destination. The Fortuner is all about that. Toyota has the target audience set very clear for the Fortuner. Toyota knows that they're not going to go to the consumers and sell that, hey, this is the Fortuner and buy this Fortuner. They know that the consumers are going to walk to the Toyota showroom to buy the Fortuner. Such is the cult status of this, and this newest iteration of that lives up to the expectations, because this is a car that says no frills attached. Fortuner is a package which is great in terms of driving dynamics, and if you're looking for a car that is feature loaded, probably you would have to head to the nearest Korean showroom. That said, we really wish that it's high time Toyota actually starts listening to consumers and starts plonking in some basic essentials like a normal sunroof, at least in the Fortuner. If you guys like the video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. That's what helps us in growing. And please follow us on Instagram because that's where a lot of action happens every day.